May our Father, Messiah, and Holy Spirit be with us. Psalm 120. I was just reading the wrong one and just had to re-record from starting at the right spot. But yeah, may our Father, Messiah, and Holy Spirit be with us. But that camera's clear. Dawood fled from Naioth and Ramah. He came to Jonathan and said, "What have I done? What is my crime and my guilt against your father that he seeks my life?" He replied, "Heaven forbid. You shall not die. My father does not do anything great or small without disclosing it to me. Why should my father conceal this matter from me? It cannot be." Dawood swore further, "Your father knows well that you are fond of me, and he has decided Jonathan must not learn of this or he will be grieved. But as our Father in heaven lives, and as you live, there is only a step between me and death." Jonathan said to Dawood, "Whatever you want, I would do it for you." Dawood said to Jonathan, "Tomorrow is the new moon, and I am to sit with the king at the meal. Instead, let me go, and I will hide in the countryside until the third evening. If your father notes my absence, you say Dawood asked my permission to run down to his hometown, Bethlehem, for the whole family has its annual sacrifice there. If he says, 'Good, your servant is safe,' but if his anger flares up, know that he is resolved to do me harm. Deal faithfully with your servant, since you have taken your servant into a covenant of our Father in heaven with you. And if I am guilty, kill me yourself, but don't make me go back to your father." Jonathan replied, "Don't talk like that. If I learn that my father has resolved to kill you, I will surely tell you about it." Dawood said to Jonathan, "Who will tell me if your father answers you harshly?" Jonathan said to Dawood, "Let us go into the open," and they both went out into the open. Then Jonathan said to Dawood, "By our Father in heaven, the Elohim of Israel, I will sound out my father at this time tomorrow or on the third day. And if his response is favorable to Dawood, I will send a message to you at once and disclose it to you. But if my father intends to do you harm, may our Father in heaven do thus to Jonathan and more if I do not disclose it to you and send you off to escape unharmed. May our Father in heaven be with you as he used to be with my father, nor shall you fail to show me our Father in heaven's faithfulness while I am alive, nor when I am dead shall you ever discontinue your faithfulness to my house. Not even after our Father in heaven has wiped out every one of Dawood's enemies from the face of the earth. Thus has Jonathan covenanted with the house of Dawood, and may our Father in heaven requite the enemies of Dawood." Jonathan, out of his love for Dawood, adjured him again, for he loved him as himself. Amen. Jonathan said to him, "Tomorrow will be the new moon, and you will be missed when your sea remains vacant. So the day after tomorrow, go down all the way to the place where you hid the other time, and stay close to the Ezel stone. Now I will shoot 3 arrows to one side of it, as though I were shooting at a mark, and I will order the boy to go and find the arrows. If I call to the boy, 'Hey, the arrows are on this side of you,' be reassured and come, for you are safe, and there is no danger, as our Father in heaven lives. But if instead I call to the lad, 'Hey, the arrows are beyond you,' then leave, for our Father in heaven has sent you away. As for the promise we made to each other, may our Father in heaven be witness between you and me forever." Dawood hid in the field. The new moon came, and the king sat down to partake of the meal. When the king took his usual place on the seat by the wall, Jonathan rose, and Abner sat down at Saul's side. But Dawood's place remained vacant that day. However, Saul said nothing. "It's accidental," he thought. "He must be unclean and not yet cleansed." But on the day after the new moon, the second day, Dawood's place was vacant again. So Saul said to his son Jonathan, "Why didn't the son of Yishai come to the meal yesterday or today?" Jonathan answered Saul, "Dawood begged leave of me to go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Please let me go, for we are going to have a family feast in our town, and my brother has summoned me to it. Do me a favor, let me slip away to see my kinsman. That is why he has not come to the king's table.'" Saul flew into a rage against Jonathan. "You son of a perverse, rebellious woman," he shouted. "I know that you sided with the son of Yishai to your shame, and to the shame of your mother's nakedness. For as long as the son of Yishai lives on earth, neither you nor your kingship will be secure. Now then, have him brought to me, for he is marked for death." But Jonathan spoke up and said to his father, "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" At that, Shaul threw his spear at him to strike him down, and Jonathan realized that his father was determined to do away with Dawood. Jonathan rose from the table in a rage. He ate no food on the second day of the new moon, because he was grieved about Dawood and because his father had humiliated him. In the morning, Jonathan went out into the open for the meeting with Dawood, accompanied by a young boy. He said to the boy, "Run ahead and find the arrow that I shoot." And as the boy ran, he shot the arrows past him. When the boy came to the place where the arrow shot by Jonathan, where the arrows shot by Jonathan had fallen. Jonathan called out to the boy, "Hey, the arrows are beyond you." And Jonathan called after the boy, "Quick, hurry up, don't stop." So Jonathan's boy gathered the arrows and came back to his master. The boy suspected nothing. Only Jonathan and Dawid knew the agreement. Jonathan handed the gear to his boy and told him, "Take these back to the town." When the boy got there, Dawid emerged from his concealment at the Negeb. He flung himself face down on the ground and bowed low 3 times. They kissed each other and wept together. Dawid wept the longer. Jonathan said to Dawid, "Go in peace, for we two have sworn to each other in the name of our Father in heaven. May our Father in heaven be witness between you and me, and between your offspring and mine forever." Dawid then went his way, and Jonathan returned to their town. Dawid went to the priest Abimelech and Nob. Ahimelech came out in alarm to meet Dawid, and he said to him, "Why are you alone and no one with you?" Dawid answered the priest Ahimelech, "The king has ordered me on a mission," and he said to me, No one must know anything about the mission on which I am sending you, and for which I have given you orders. So I have directed my young men to such and such a place. Now then, what have you got on hand? Any loaves of bread? Let me have them, or whatever is available." The priest answered Dawid, "I have no ordinary bread on hand. There is only consecrated bread, provided the young men have kept me away from women." In reply to the priest, Dawid said, "I assure you that women have been kept from us, as always, whenever I went on a mission. Even if the journey was a common one, the vessels of the young men were consecrated. All the more than make all the more than may consecrated food be put into the vessels today." Okay, so the priest gave him consecrated bread, because there was none there except the bread of display, which had been removed from the presence of our Father in heaven, to be replaced by warm bread as soon as it was taken away. Now one of Saul's officials was there that day, detained before our Father in heaven. His name was Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief herdsman. Dawid said to Abimelech, "Haven't you got a spear or sword on hand?" "I didn't take my sword or any of my weapons with me, because the king's mission was urgent." The priest said, "There is the sword of Goliath, the Philistine whom you slew in the valley of Elah. It is over there, wrapped in a cloth beyond the ephod. If you want to take that one, take it, for there is none here but that one." Dawid replied, "There is none like it, give it to me." That day Dawid continued on his flight from Saul, and he came to King Achish of Gath. The courtiers of Achish said to him, Why, that's Dawid, king of the land. That's the one of whom they sing as they dance. Saul has slain his thousands, Dawid his tens of thousands." These words worried Dawid, and he became very much afraid of King Achish of Gath. So he concealed his good sense from them. He feigned madness for their benefit. He scratched marks on the doors of the gate, and let his saliva run down his beard. And Achish said to his courtiers, "You see, the man is raving. Why bring him to me? Do I lack madmen that you have brought this fellow to rave for me? Should this fellow enter my house?" Dawid departed from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And when his brothers and all his father's house heard, they joined him down there. Everyone who was in straits, and everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was desperate joined him, and he became the leader. There were about 400 men with him. Dawid went from there to Mizpah of Moab. Wow, this guy really came up, though. I think this guy had a life, man. Dawid went from there to Mizpah of Moab. That was just all praise to our Father, Messiah, and Holy Spirit. Dawid's life is like one of the most interesting lives to me out of the entire scriptures, because there's like so many different things happen. So many different things happened to him. Dawid went from there to Mizpah of Moab, and he did many different things. Dawid went from there to Mizpah of Moab, and he said to the king of Moab, "Let my father and mother come and stay with you until I know what Elohim would do for me." So he led them to the king of Moab, and they stayed with him as long as Dawid remained in the stronghold. But the prophet God said to Dawid, "Do not stay in the stronghold. Go at once to the territory of Yehudah." So Dawid left and went to the forest of Hereth. When Saul heard that Dawid and the men with him had been located, Saul was then in Gibeah, sitting under the tamarisk tree on a height, spear in hand, with all his courtiers and attendants upon him. Saul said to the courtiers standing about him, "Listen, men of Benjamin, will the son of Yishai give fields and vineyards to every one of you? And will he make all of you captains of thousands or captains of hundreds? Is that why all of you have conspired against me? For no one informs me when my son makes a pact with the son of Yishai. No one is concerned for me, and no one informs me when my own son has set my servant in ambush against me, as is now the case." Doeg the Edomite was standing among the courtiers of Saul, spoke up, "I saw the son of Yishai come to Abimelech, son of Ahitub, and Nob. He inquired of our Father in heaven on his behalf, and gave him provisions. He also gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine." Thereupon the king sent for the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, and for all the priests belonging to his father's house at Nob. They all came to the king, and Saul said, "Listen to me, son of Ahitub." "Yes, my master," he replied. And Saul said to him, "Why have you and the son of Yishai conspired against me? You gave him food and a sword, and inquired of Elohim for him, that he may rise and ambush against me. As is now the case, Ahimelech replied to the king, but who was there among all your courtiers as trusted as Dawid, son-in-law of your majesty, and obedient to your bidding, and esteemed in your household? This is the first time that I inquired of Elohim for him. I have done no wrong. Let not your majesty find fault with the servant, or with any of my father's house, for your servant knew nothing whatever about all this. But the king said, You shall die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. And the king commanded the guards standing by, turn about and kill the priest of our Father in heaven, for they are in league with Dawid. They knew he was running away, and they did not inform me. But the king's servants would not rise a hand to strike down the priest of our Father in heaven. Thereupon the king said to Doeg, You, Doeg, go and strike down the priest. And Doeg the Edomite went and struck down the priest himself. That day he killed 85 men who swore the linen ephod. He put Nob, the town of the priest, to the sword, men and women, children and infants, oxen and donkeys, and sheep, all to the sword. But one son of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, escaped. His name was Ahithar, and he fled to Dawid. When Abiathar told Dawid that Saul had killed the priest of our Father in heaven, Dawid said to Abiathar, I knew that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would tell Saul, I am to blame for all the deaths in your father's house. Stay with me. Do not be afraid. For whoever seeks your life must seek my life also. It will be my care to guard you. Man, our Father and the Son, Holy Spirit with us. I pray you all have a great, wonderful, and beautiful day. You can see that Torah teaching. I actually brought this Bible off Amazon, and this is what this other woman in here wrote. The woman who previously had the Bible before me, I guess. So, I ask that you all pray for Lillian. You can see her name. I'm praying for her, and I pray to her family as well. I could tell she had wisdom. She has some understanding. She wrote Torah, equal teaching, Nevi'im, equal prophets, Ketuvim, equal writings. I pray that she got some edification from the scripture before she, gave it away. Father and Son, Holy Spirit be with us. Amen.